We got dogs and Channing Tatum in a tight white shirt in the rain. It's got something for everybody.
Yeah, I'll take it. It's better than anything I had. So. Honestly, I feel like the most challenge we have in this show is just coming up with an opener. Sometimes it's smooth like butter, other times it's just like, well, shit, what do you say about this? But so this is one of like, I know I got to like make a catch up because I have like 4 movies I've seen that I haven't done reviews on yet, so that's just gonna be just one long Zoom call. But to get the ball rolling, we got Dog, the very much February kind of middleman movie. Yeah. Which is exactly what it says on the tin. Which is it is a Channing Tatum with a road trip movie with a dog who has issues, and for purpose. It's perfectly fine. Yeah, it was solid. I enjoyed it. Yeah, honestly, it's probably the 3 movies I've seen this week. Probably my favorite one.
Yeah, it doesn't try to be anything special. Like, it definitely tries to add in, the ideas of, what veterans go through. Yeah. Like mental, economic challenges, things like that. But yeah, it's a very, like, it's a feel-good movie that doesn't get too schmaltzy. Like, that's not to say that it doesn't. Yeah. But it doesn't go into, like, maudlin territory.
It does it well. Like, this movie basically just rises or falls on how well Channing Tatum can carry moving. Luckily, he can do. He's gotten pretty good at this point. Yeah. So he's pretty reliable. He does a good job. You do feel for him. You do really, like, the dog's adorable, and it's hard to be mad at a dog. Yeah.
I will say there are some things that did surprise me at this movie too that actually made, like, there's a scene in particular we'll get to later that, like, was actually having us laughing, like, pretty hard the entire time.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. So, like, there's some genuinely, like, smart, funny moments in this movie, and there's some genuine heartfelt moments in the movie.
Yeah. Like the part where first big challenge, trying to navigate Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, if I'd have, like, one major criticism of this movie, like, and even that's not that major, is more like it politically does kind of take the centrist route, which I don't necessarily fully go with.
I mean, to be fair, it's like there's nothing really much to be political about in this, except for just, like I said, about the...
It does bring up a few different things, mostly, again, based on what I perceived. First, I do think it gives Portland a bit of a bad rep. I don't think it's that bad.
Oh, no. Apparently, from the people I know who have been there, it is.
Is it? Okay.
They said if you've seen Portlandia, that is, like, not far off from the truth.
Okay. So maybe I was just ignorant in that fact. But
like, Portland is somehow San Francisco, like, just... It's around that level, if not a little bit further sometimes.
San Francisco's not that bad.
True. I mean, just the parts that's just how I've been described to it, but, like, from what I've been told, it's like, it's, Portland is very, it was very that. I don't know how else to put it.
All right, maybe, like, to be fair, I've never, like, spent a lot of time in Portland, so, like, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert, so, I don't know, say lovey.
But regardless, it is, because... obviously they're focusing on the most hipster of hipster parts.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But it is funny just seeing, like, how Channing Tatum tries to navigate that.
Sure. I think more like my general point here, though, is the fact that it does feel like it has something to say about what being a hero in the military actually is. Mm-hmm. My viewpoint on war, just to get that right at the bat, is, like, hate the industry, like, don't blame the soldier.
Yeah, support the troops, not the war.
Exactly. So sure. And I feel like this movie does kind of talk a little bit about the propaganda side of that whole, like, you're a hero, you're prop up and rah, rah, rah.
Yeah, like, it gave me very Hero of War vibes, that song by Rise Against.
I'm vaguely familiar with it.
It basically talked about, like, a soldier who's like, I'm going to be a hero, and then, like, starts off with a simple, recruitment. It's like, cool, I'm okay with this. Then it gets to, like, more and more, like, messed up things that the soldier has to go through. Yeah. Like, basically Abu Ghraib references the fact that they shot, like, the person ends up shooting a civilian, for example, that was, like, actually surrendering. Like, he just didn't know until, like, because, like, they're still, like, crazy and all that stuff.
Well, it's more like when you go... one of Channing Tatum's big arcs of the movie is kind of just realizing how his life sounds through other people's eyes when you actually have to say it out loud and then you hear it back at you. It's just kind of how fucked up it is when you actually look at it.
Yeah.
Namely, like, hey, did you take pictures with bodies? Like, yeah, it's pretty fucked up when you say it like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff like that where it doesn't draw too much attention to it. It's clearly not about that, but it is an element about it worth addressing.
Yeah, because it was definitely more an idea of it felt like it was there, or like as you said, like it can be addressed. But I think the main point they were going for was it was more about like, this is what these soldiers were going through.
Sure.
And you have to, and it's like no wonder why so many of them get like messed up with PTSD and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean that's of course like the main purpose, but it does touch on issues of like. Yeah. Largely military propaganda. Mostly with this goes slightly into spoiler territory, but like with Bill Burr's character that shows up about like toward the third act, where his whole thing about like how like he starts throwing out racist dogma and like rah because he's his character apparently serving as a cop now. So it does kind of lean into that whole like, hey, this is what the military teaches you to believe is true.
And we also see that a bit in the you've seen it in the trailer, the oh my god I can see scene. Where
where like the dog goes after someone who's dressed as
they're Muslim,
as a Muslim person.
I can't remember like the exact name, but basically he has like the garb, in
Muslim garb,
the garb, the hat. I
hope that's the correct term for it. If I ignorant white man, blame me if that's not the right term. So a traditionally dressed Muslim man is walking through a hotel lobby, and the dog reacts to it, and that's what kind of leads this whole sequence. And this isn't spoilers; this is in the trailer. This kind of goes into obviously, hey, that kind of constitutes a hate crime, which is not wrong. But so. There's a lot of like there's again, it doesn't go too deep into it, so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I do think it's an interesting element to point out.
Yeah.
Which is also I think kind of reflects to a certain extent the cultural zeitgeist attention around soldiers right now, because this is definitely meant to be a very middleman movie. So like movies like this tend to kind of reflect whatever political ideology frames around this topic at this point. So I guess in a weird kind of way, it does show progress. So like take that for what it's worth. But that being said, for what it does address, I think it does it well enough. Could have gotten into it more, sure, but it's not that kind of movie.
Yeah.
And there are other movies that will definitely go into this topic with much greater detail and focus.
Yeah, because this is, like I said, this is meant to be a feel-good movie. This is not meant to, if it focused too much on that other stuff, it'd be too much of a downer.
Yeah, it would be a very different movie.
So with that said, I appreciate that, like, they brought that in there, like, in the conversation. Like, even if it was like, as you said, it was more touched upon than explained.
Yeah.
But they do enough of it where it's like it's still able to say something as well as bring things to attention.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, this could have just been, like I said, this could have just been a typical road trip movie with just like, two-dimensional, like, we don't get along, but now we do. Brah, brah, brah.
Yeah. I mean, that's still what it is. But again, it does actually try to say something about it while it's doing it.
Yeah. So it adds a little bit of depth to it.
Yeah. And the relationship does develop very organically, like between the dog Lulu and Channing Tatum's character. Fucking just Channing Tatum.
I will say, like, it was weird how it almost like made like it was mostly a drama with like just little jokes here and there, and then like at one point it goes like almost full blown comedy.
Yeah, full shenanigans.
Including that Bart was like, "You took pictures of the bodies." It's to frame it like while they're like doing.
Okay, yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, let's set the stage for that a little bit. Sorry, I cut you off. You want to go ahead?
So basically, after Portland, where.
By the way, the general story for this movie, for those not aware, I feel like we should set that up first.
Right, that is true.
Is that Channing Tatum is an ex-Ranger who's basically on permanent leave because of multiple concussions that cause him migraines. Basically means he can't shoot.
Not permanent, but basically it's like he's on an extended leave, because they mention a part where like he wants to get back on service sooner.
Yeah.
But he can't without like his
captain's clear medical bill.
Yeah. And his commanding officer's permission, and that doesn't happen. And if he doesn't get that, he basically has to wait like an entire year before rotation.
Yeah. So he's trying to get back on rotation as fast as possible. The captain's refusing to do it, but then he comes up with a solution, which is one of his
his squad mates.
Squad mates. Thank you. I was gonna say coworkers, and I know it's not the right terminology, and I'm gonna piss off some other people if I say that.
Yeah.
So one of their squad mates commits suicide. I think his name was Riley.
Yeah.
But Riley had this dog Lulu, who's also horribly scarred from like emotionally scarred.
Yeah.
And is wildly unmanageable. Tries to attack everyone. Basically, highly sensitive dog. And the family, Riley's family, wants to have the dog over for the funeral. So the dog can't fly because of massive anxiety. So the captain says, if you drive the dog over to the funeral, I'll make the call to get you back in service.
Yeah, and well, the other thing is you also have to basically take the dog to a base to be put down afterwards.
Yes.
And this is another thing I want to mention is I love the opening credits.
Yeah, the opening credits is good.
Because it's one of those things, like, it's a little haunting, the fact, like, you hear this kind of, I don't want to say cheery, but, like, more upbeat, kind of like, almost country bluegrass. Like, I can't think of the right genre, but like it's,
like it actually kind of fits kind of with military propaganda because it is a popular genre within that.
And like you see like these pictures of like Riley. Oh my god, I forgot Channing Tatum's character's name.
Like she's just Channing Tatum. Call him Gambit if it makes you feel better. I know he'll feel better about it.
Okay, Gambit, Riley, and Lulu. We see their journey through the military. And as we see these pictures, we see things kind of get like a little bit darker and darker as time goes on. Like we see the photos of like Lulu, for example, going through surgery after apparently most likely having been shot.
Yeah.
And then you're also seeing the letters that Riley's written to her.
Yeah.
And which shows not only his appreciation for her, but also his deteriorating mental state.
Yeah.
So, like, this does a great job of, like, even if it's only, like, brief flashes, it's enough where you can see, like, it's leading into, like, where it's going to.
Yeah, no, it's a good way to set up the general tone of what the plot's going for. I got distracted.
Yeah.
Sorry. And it does set the stage for kind of like the journey ahead. I sound like so pretentious when I say that stuff like that. But yeah, so that's the basic setup. It gives you a pretty good idea where the dog's at by the time you actually meet her.
Yeah.
So yeah, the rest of the movie is basically just a road trip movie through America. Does it start off in like an Oregon or something, or like Washington?
I think so. Yeah. Like it goes.
It goes like from Washington to Portland, so like that would make the most sense to me.
And yeah, it basically goes to like super SoCal. Like I can't remember the exact city.
Like I think it's past LA.
Yeah,
like probably.
They mentioned it was like a desert city.
Probably closer to like Baja California, but
maybe yeah.
But anywho, so the part we're talking about is about like a third of the way through the movie, give or take, where shenanigans happen in Portland and some hipster breaks a window to save the dog. The dog attacks him because of course he does.
And he basically blows she blows Gambit's chance for
getting laid by two hipster women who are a whole thing they're trying to block chakra things to have better sex.
Tantric healers.
Yes, that thing. So yeah, that happens, and so they're driving down with the busted window, and eventually the dog gets out of the leash because she's freaking out about something, and she hops out the window. You're in the bathroom for this part.
Yeah.
Chang obviously freaks out, pulls over to the side of the road, runs after the dog, and then goes full without a paddle for about 10 minutes, where they walk into for those 5 people remember that movie.
Basically a weed farm.
Yeah, it goes into basically to a weed farm, and then gets tranked by some just large lumberman.
It's basically just like, I know you're here to spy on my crops. You think you're the first person the government sent, and
which I'm kind of like weed is largely legal now. I don't know where they're at, like especially in California and Oregon.
As long as you are a license, which I'm pretty sure this person was not.
Maybe. I don't know. Hey, looks like he might have had a license.
They might have. He may have also just been, like, messing with them, because what happens next, like, what starts off is, like, a reference to Pulp Fiction with the GIMP.
Yeah.
The scene with Zed. There we go.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
With even the whole, like, going from weapon to weapon to weapon bit, I was like, oh my frickin' God. This is Pulp Fiction.
I was more thinking, like, this is not the way I thought it was going to be.
And so he's, like, going into this house with an axe, ready to kill this guy. And then he walks in and finds him basically arguing with his hippie wife.
Yeah.
And finds out they're basically just, he's less hippie, but they're pretty much both hippies. And he comes with the axe and he's like, okay, man, I'm sorry, that was my bad.
Yeah, pretty much. So basically comes in there and the lady basically gets the dog Lulu to calm down, which gets Channing Tatum's attention. Like, how the fuck did you do that? Which gets everyone to calm down and have him put the axe down. In which case, she's like, "You can do whatever I want, my husband," and that's who's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, and then it's just like, "Here, have some
homemade edibles," and they were like lollipops with gummy bears on them.
And it just got. And it basically just, you see them just like bonding over like, how'd you break out of those zip ties?
Yeah. Channing Tatum's in a robe. I think the best part was there was like, all right, like when the big guy looks over at Gambit and just goes like, all right, man, be honest, how close was I to dying? It's like, you're pretty damn close.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was ready to put an axe in your head, back of your head. So it's like there's sequences like that are actually like pretty pretty funny and pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
But like I said, even then, like you're helped by like good enough writing where the characters are likable and the relationships they have feel like genuinely earned, and they seem like be genuine connections.
Yeah.
With everyone Channing Tatum's kind of runs into in his journey, except for his ex-wife, I'm guessing, who doesn't even get a line.
She got like one line as far as I can tell.
Oh yeah, like exactly one, but it's like background noise.
Yeah, it's like, hey, go to your room. I'll be back. It's just one of Mommy's friends. Go to your room.
Yep, that was it. That was her entire. That's her moment.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, from there, just it's a standard road trip movie with bonding and stuff, and it's sweet and it's cute, and there's a adorable little dog in there that wants to murder you.
Yeah, and just a little bit of elements of like about like the veteran life. Like, I think the main thing with being in Portland was to contrast like how far removed he was.
Yeah.
As well, 'cause I mean, not just because of like his own little isolation issues, but because of, you know, obviously when you're in that, as you mentioned, military life, which we get the ugly side of it through Bill Burr's character.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he even says some like pretty racist, just like, you're going after that guy, right? It's like, what? No, sure. Yeah, no, you weren't. Sure you weren't.
There's also some racial slurs thrown in there too, for good measure.
I'm not going to say
and
that.
Neither am I. So yeah, it's made pretty overt that the whole point is kind of like a reality check for Channing Tatum to see kind of what world is actually in outside of the narrow bubble that is provided in the military space.
Yeah.
Which by design, the military is meant to do that.
Yeah. And we see, and as I said, we see like different reactions from various people about like how they got through it or where they could have ended up. Because like we see another one of his buddies, which I can't remember, but he was like a buddy of Riley.
Yeah.
Who also had like the brother dog of Lulu.
Yes.
And we see how like he actually made a pretty good recovery. Like, even it's like wasn't perfect, but like he found like a good balance. And like while that's going on, like some homeless person like breaks into like the car, steals all his stuff. Yeah. And they end up tracking him down and getting the stuff back.
Yeah. Which is like, man, I got my issues with the military, but I've never tried to piss off somebody who's been in one, because I know they can fold me in half. So it's one of those things, like, if you're gonna try to steal a military person thing, you should really like think for a second.
And they showed multiple angles of that one too. Is interesting, like, like that. There might be some people who are like trying to either take advantage or fake it, but the other bigger deal is that the point they're trying to make was that could have been us, and the fact that like there's so many veterans who like can end up there, or like they end up, just the problems you're going through, like either through ending up in economic turmoil where they end up being homeless, or they have like the emotional issues where they're just
when they're just talking about committing, like how they're going to commit suicide.
And they talk about this whole idea where it's like, I tried so hard to help Riley, because you have no idea how many times we would talk where it was just like, we talk about how would we die.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so that's what I mean by the fact, like, it does a fairly good job of like bringing in some of the drama, despite some of the like, I guess you can argue like in some cases it can be a little tonally weird, but like it never goes too far like into like.
See, I don't even see it necessarily tonally weird. It's like tonally, it's actually fairly consistent. It's just how it presents the narrative that can sometimes kind of flip flop. But that's what I meant before when I said it's kind of centrist and trying to be centrist when it comes to politics. Yeah. Where it presents like the overt hippie as opposed to the overt racist. Kind of like, oh, they're on both sides kind of thing, which is an argument that has flaws in its own right. Because I will always say the racist is worse. Which is something you'd be surprised how many people disagree with. But that's a whole other topic I'm not getting into today. I don't have the mental energy for that. I get enough hate comments in the fucking licorice pizza review. But for what it sets out to do, it does talk about the topics it wants to talk about respectfully enough, with enough nuance that you can forgive it for some maybe narrative oversights in terms of overall presentation. But so overall, it succeeds in what it wants to do.
Yeah.
And I think it handles what it wants to do very, very well. So again, it's a middle of the road movie. It knows that. It's not trying to be anything else.
Yeah, and because of that, like, you know, it does what it needs to do with some extra flavor to it.
Yeah.
And I can respect that. Like,
so like just enough depth to put it like a little bit above the standard fare. Not quite enough to elevate to like, oh, you have to see this.
Yeah, but it's definitely one, like, I don't think you'll be disappointed in watching.
No, like, I'd give it a solid 7.5 if I had to put a number on it.
Yeah.
Oh, we forgot to talk about the blind scene.
Yes. Because that's what led to the incident with the...
Bill Burr's character.
Yeah.
Is it Bill Burr or Bill Barr? I can never get it right.
Bill Burr, I believe.
Okay.
I'm suddenly forgetting now. It's like, shit. Mandela effect. Mandela effect. But
it's in the trailer. There's a part where while they're at the pot farm, the hippie wife is also a psychic, because of course she is, and she thinks she can connect with the dog, and at one point she says some weird things. One was like, the dog, I'm getting the comfy bed, the dog wants to be in a comfy bed, the dog wants Indian food, which goes, the husband's like, I'm out.
Yeah. That's also where we kind of learn that Channing Tatum does have a daughter, because she mentions, like, I'm getting a daughter with a boy's name. She's like, yeah, I have a daughter named Sam.
It's short for Samantha, you heathens. But unless they eventually want to identify as Sam, which is totally okay. But anywho, so eventually Gambit's solution to this is to go to like the fanciest hotel in San Francisco, pretending to be blind and using Lulu as a seeing eye dog, and use that to get a free room, and it works until it doesn't.
Yeah, when that guy that we met, when we mentioned the Muslim guy who's actually a doctor, gets attacked by Lulu,
and then of course Channing has to drop the act, because of course he does.
Yeah.
Which point he realizes the jig is up. That immediately after he managed to call Lulu down, he's like, oh, fuck me.
Yeah.
Which he could have just gone in there and said he was a veteran, needs a place to stay. He probably could have still got it.
Yeah.
But whatever. Shenanigans are shenanigans.
Yeah. And that's when we get the thing with Bill Burr. Bill Burr being racist cop who won't let him out. But then, how did he... Oh, right. He got out because the doctor basically decided not to press charges on him. Because, the guy was like... Tanning's basically just like, look, I'll say whatever you want me to say. I need to get here, or if you can't at least have someone else do this thing for me, I cannot let this, happen.
Yeah.
And basically it's like, okay, you know what? I will not press charges on the condition that you get professional help after this.
Which, fair.
Yeah.
That's pretty fair. Yeah.
What else happened? After that, it was...
That's in the LA sequence.
Yeah, which we saw the stuff with, other Buddy as well as the homeless encampment, which, multiple commentary there.
Yeah.
And that's when they eventually get to, eventually they have to make one stopover, and they eventually get to, the funeral.
Yeah.
Which, that hurt a little bit to watch.
Yeah.
Because basically it's like the dog's freaking out, and basically he kind of has to let her go, and then just like she's resting on the boots, like that's right by the casket. It's like, oh god damn it!
Yeah. I don't have a lot to add to that right now.
Yeah.
It was sad.
Yeah. It's like, oh god. It's like, now I'm thinking my old dog.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny though, because like there was some like the military training stuff they were doing that like gave me flashbacks to. Like there's a part where it's like, look, you got to bond with her. You basically got to let her attack you in this bite-proof suit. Yeah. It's like, oh god, I remember when my stepmom and dog used to do that.
Oh man, I can't imagine that was fun.
Oh, it was.
Was it?
Oh yeah, because it was a police dog.
Because I know like even when you have those vests on, those dog bites still, it can bend fucking steel bars and shit.
No, that thing actually does a lot to...
Oh, does it?
Really,
okay.
Yeah, because they're like thick. Like, that's Kevlar.
Okay. Because, like, even then, like, dog jaws, like, especially, like, German Shepherds are powerful fucking things.
True. That's also, but thankfully, also, more often than not, they're disciplined enough that when you tell them to let go, they let go.
All right, well, that's good.
It's also why you have to stay up as tight as possible, because, like, if they get that full leverage, then they might be able to do some real damage.
Yeah.
Also
don't fuck around with German Shepherds, man.
And
trained, like military trained German Shepherds, I should add.
Yeah, and especially Belgian Malinois.
Oh yeah.
Those dogs, which is the dog in this, are beasts at times. Like they will. You put them into attack mode, they do not mess around.
I don't doubt it for a second.
But another weird flashback I got was the way that they have to find the stuff that's been stolen is they have basically this guy who stole everything except for like a dog tag. The dog basically sniffs the tag and is using that to basically get the scent of Riley. Is like sniffing around all LA, going from like another place that got broken into and getting in there. And that also gave me flashbacks, because those were exercises I did with my dog as well.
Oh, really?
Basically, I would hide in the garage somewhere. We'd give the dog something to smell, and she'd have to find me.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
I remember I saw this video a while back. A lot of people watching this probably seen it too, where just dad playing little hide and seek with his daughter. Yeah. Like little daughter needs to have a German Shepherd dog. She's like, all right, Rihanna, here I come. Seek, and the dog just run up and like find her, and you hear the girl go, "Daddy, that's cheating."
Yeah. Anyway, they have the funeral. At this point, the Lulu and Gambit have fully bonded, because like, you know, she's not freaking out when like her ears get touched, which is like a trigger for the dog.
Yeah.
You know, she's actually like trying to be friendly, like trying to comfort him.
Yeah.
And when he gets to the base where he's supposed to drop her off, it's like, nope, I'm changing my mind, and they drive off.
Which of course you're gonna after that. You're like going through all that. You're like, you can't let the dog die.
No, the funny thing is, like in one of the latest trailers or marketing things, the tagline is "The dog doesn't die."
Because you know it's everyone's first fucking question. There's a whole website dedicated just to answering that question. Sorry to spit on you.
No, you didn't.
Okay, yeah.
But like that. But yeah. So the funny thing was, like, it ends almost immediately after that. Like, you get like one little quick montage with like a quick like 5-line poem.
I think it's all you needed, though.
Exactly.
Like, you didn't need to go with like too much in that. Like,
no, for sure. It's like it's just weird considering how many other movies tend to like milk that a little bit further. It's like, I respect that.
Well, I was gonna bring that up too, because like this is a recent trend I've noticed that's been irritating the shit out of me. It was like, why does every movie have to be just under 2 hours long? Like every movie, like Marry Me was an hour and 55 minutes for some reason. I like the movie fine, but it did not need to be almost 2 hours. I was like, what happened to a tight hour and 45?
What happened to a tight 1 hour 30?
I know!
Like a Free Fire.
Oh, yeah. It's been a while since I watched Free Fire. That was a good movie.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know, maybe I was getting grumpy. It's always fascinating over the many years we've been doing this, is like see how like the time trends have changed over the years. Remember, every movie is 2.5 hours fucking long. Mm-hmm. Which around I think Transformers 4 was like the epitome of that. Ooh. Yeah. God, that was years ago. Fucking hell, we're getting old.
Yeah.
But
what do you mean? It's still 2011.
But it's okay. We all gotta come to terms with reality sooner or later.
Thankfully for me, it's gonna be later.
You know, that's between you and God. Or whatever you believe in. We're speaking of reality. Anyway, no, we're not going to that.
But yeah, all in all, really solid movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I did
too.
Yeah.
Glad I saw it.
Same here.
Again, definitely the best of the 3 I've seen the last 3 days. I'll pick this over Uncharted any fucking day.
I'm sure. Still gonna watch that, and I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna be happy, but I still want to give it just a fair shake and be disappointed afterwards.
It's just painfully mediocre. That's really what it boils down to.
That's the vibe I got.
Like, it's not even bad enough to be mad about. It just exists.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. Although it does have one, I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but there is a scene to rival the recent Power Rangers movie.
Oh, I think I got spoiled on that in the certain cameo.
Not necessarily. You'll know when you get there. I'm not gonna say it yet, but it's gratuitous.
So it's not about a certain...
It is not about a person showing up.
Okay.
But it will remind you of the recent Power Rangers movie, and that's all I'll say.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, yeah, I think it's all we got for Dog. I still got like 100 fucking movies to catch up on, and I know I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah.
I know this week we had Cyrano finally came out to wide theaters.
Yeah, and I don't know how I missed the fact that Joe Wright directed that. It's like, oh, shit, now I want to watch it.
I mean, like, I want to criticize it for its, like, familiar story beats. From what I understand, like, that's where those beats came from. So I'm kind of like, all right, I kind of have to give it a pass from that perspective.
Yeah.
And then I know there's like something other. Oh, and Studio 666.
Oh yeah, that came out.
And then we should probably watch the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre at some point.
Oh yeah, I still need to watch the original.
I've never seen the original either, honestly.
Double feature.
Oh god.
And then we can be mad.
I don't know. That movie never really appealed to me. It's like, this seems a little too gross and sweaty for me.
The irony of that movie is that they're trying to be as not gross as possible with it.
I don't know. You see the behind-the-scenes stories from that fucking movie.
Yeah.
Maybe that's more horrifying than the movie itself.
It's like, we have no blood, so we can get a PG rating. Nope, R.
Yeah, you're not getting away with that. So anyway, I think that's all we got. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your patience. This week kind of work catch up, and we'll see y'all later. Bye.
Later. Bye.